Let's Sleep Together by Flapjack09, read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 5, Reactions. Just like every morning, Izuku stepped out of the first-year support dorms feeling light as a feather, his internal battery full and ready to take on whatever the day had planned for him. Even after a week, he still had no idea how sleeping with May made him feel so good, but at this point, he figured he was better not to ask. They were both benefiting from this arrangement, and that's what's important. The last few nights, especially, had been the best so far. May had finally finished building her giant bed that took up half the room, and it lived up to all the expectations and then some. It made cuddling so comfortable that Izuku had to fight to get out of bed every morning, something a morning person like him could never have fathomed. Part of him wouldn't mind spending an entire weekend on that bed with May, but he knew her work ethic would never allow for that to happen. Thoughts of cuddling with May continued to float around in his mind while he made it to the classroom on time and sat down at his desk. His head was so high up in the clouds that he failed to notice the pair of eyes boring into his skull from behind. "Hey, Midoriya?" Tired of waiting, Mineta spoke up to get his attention. Oh, hey, how's it going? I went to your room last night to return that notebook you lent to me, but you weren't there." He subtly narrowed his eyes at his classmate. "Where were you last night?" Izuku picked up on the suspicion in Mineta's voice, and his pupils shrank in fear as the situation dawned on him. Frantically, he racked his mind to come up with a convincing enough cover story so he wouldn't find out where he really was. I was training in the woods again," he nodded, a false grin growing on his face. "Yeah, Mr. Aizawa's still out, so I figured I might as well get some extra training in. Uraraka can vouch for me, right?" "Yeah, he was totally there," she confirmed with a nod. "Isn't that right, Ida?" Yes. He told me that was the place he was going and not some other place that he wasn't going." Ida unconvincingly lied, but Izuku still appreciated his willingness to keep a secret for him. "Is that so?" For a moment, Izuku thought Mineta believed him and that he was in the clear. But that feeling of relief would not last long. "Well, I talked to Thoji this morning, who was also training in the woods last night, and he didn't hear a thing." Izuku fought to prevent the shock from appearing on his face, which he could tell he was doing a poor job at. Well, funny you mentioned that, because I was actually there for stealth training, so the fact he didn't hear me anywhere could only be a good thing." Izuku's grin became a bit more genuine, knowing he had a somewhat believable alibi. But Mineta remained just as stone-faced as ever. "Oh, yeah? Then what's this?" He reached behind Izuku's ear and pulled out a pink strand of hair, earning a series of gasps from the rest of the class, who had secretly been watching this entire time. I don't know how that got there." "Don't play dumb with me, Midoriya. I know where you were last night." He jammed an accusatory finger in the boy's face. "You were getting all cozy with Ashido, weren't you?" The tension in the room immediately deflated like a balloon as Izuku sent Mineta a completely dumbfounded look, along with the most convincing "no" he'd ever heard in his life. "You really shouldn't be throwing around baseless accusations like that, Mineta." "Yeah!" Mina shouted from across the room before throwing a shoe at his face. Okay, let me try again." He quickly recovered from the attack and tried to course correct. "You were getting all cozy with that pink-haired second year, Mawata Fua." "No!" Fua came into the room and threw a shoe at Mineta's face. "What about that third year, Yu Haya?" "No, she's with me." Nejire showed up in her stead to throw a shoe at Mineta. The pink-haired lizard guy from the League of Villains. I'm not even going to entertain that idea. Spinner showed up and threw a shoe at Minetta before dissolving into gray sludge. It was just a clone. Okay, I'm stumped. Who else has pinkest hair? Really? You can't think of anyone else? Izuku felt a little offended on his cuddled partner's behalf. Did you completely forget about Huts? He slapped a hand over his mouth, just now realizing what he had said. But it was too late, and Minetta already wore a victorious grin, despite the many shoe-shaped marks on his face. Aha! I knew it! He triumphantly hopped up on his desk, feeling like he was on top of the world. When Hatsume said she wanted to make babies, she meant it literal. No, it's not like that. To prevent another misunderstanding, Izuku squeezed Minetta's lips shut so he could explain everything as concisely as possible. Yes, I've been sleeping with her. No, not in that way. Literally just sleeping next to each other. For some reason, we both get much better sleep when we're cuddling together, but it's for purely experimental purposes. Are you sure? Mina leaned over, her coy smile telling Izuku exactly what she was thinking. You sure you don't want anything more? Yes, I'm sure. He lightly shoved her away while attempting to mask the doubt lacing his tone, though it was clear the rest of the class was quickly catching on. I don't know how you keep doing this, Midoriya. Kaminari was somehow both impressed and exasperated. You just have all the game, all the time. Is green just the new trend these days? At least you're doing it in her room. I've already heard way too much in our dorm. Jiro sighed in relief. Congratulations. Shoto wasn't sure what was going on, but he was happy for his friend regardless. Hatsume? Where the hell is she? I gotta give her a piece of my mind and a piece of my fist! Katsuki angrily barked at him. Izuku just sighed as he let his head fall to his desk. He desperately hoped May was having a better time than he was. Hatsume, you've been kind of an inventing beast these past few days, and frankly, it's given us all a bit of an inferiority complex. Mina spoke on behalf of Class 1H, who were listening in on the conversation as they waited for Majima to arrive and give them the go-ahead to start working. Skill issue. May demonstrated her ruthless nature when it came to the competitive field of support engineering. Mina groaned, knowing she'd say that. Can you at least let us know how you got such an edge over us? Please? For the sake of the heroes, we're trying to help. Okay. May relented, fine to close the gap if it meant a little healthier competition. I've been sleeping with 10 million. Not sex sleeping, just sleeping. Helps me with my focus and efficiency. 10 million? You mean Izuku Midoriya? It was very telling how May's face lit up in recognition at the name. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I'd forgotten his name up until now, but yeah, he's probably the best cuddler around. If there was like a cuddling contest, he'd take home first prize. And so would I, because we'd both be cuddling together. Naturally, this earned a series of strange looks from the entire class, yet they had no reason to doubt her claim. So, if theoretically we slept with Midoriya, you won't. May's tone was as cheerful as it was threatening, making it clear that she would mess some of these people up if she wanted to. He's my designated snuggle bunny, so go find your own Hero Course student to sleep with. The class went silent for a moment, all of them glancing between each other as a similar thought permeated through their minds. They were all ready and eager to commit to this new, crazy idea. All it took was one sudden movement to pull the trigger. Morning, class. All heads turned to the door as Majima stepped in, idly swishing around a half-filled cup of coffee. Sorry I'm late. The class paid him little mind. With the trigger pulled, they all rushed past Majima on their way to the hero course side of the building, leaving their teacher in the dust, more than a little confused. Hatsume, what the hell was that? He asked the one student still at their desk. I just helped improve the entire class's productivity, she proudly proclaimed. You're welcome. Omake, Class 1H's attempts at flirting. 1H student, can we cuddle together like Midori and Hatsume do? Tsuyu, why would I want to cuddle with a complete strangers? Gero. 1H student, my quirk lets me regulate my external temperature. I'm like a human heated blanket. Tsuyu, we're cuddling now. 1H student, aren't you the student who only has boots and gloves as their hero costume? Toru, I'm not wearing that to bed if that's what you're asking. 1H student, no, but while we're cuddling, I would like to pitch you some potential new costume ideas. Toru, doesn't that kind of kill the vibe? 1H student, I like to think it enhances the vibe. Katsuki, apparently cuddling with a support student makes you better at heroics, so you and I are going to do it now. 1H student, no thanks. I like to be cuddled a bit more tenderly. Katsuki, I'm perfectly tender! Mineta, those support course chicks are going to be flocking to me any minute now. Momo, do you honestly believe that? Mineta, no, but I desperately need this. Momo, denial will only get you so far. 1H student, hi, I'm Mikumo Akatani. Would you like to cuddle? Ochako, okay, but only because it reportedly helps sharpen our skills, not because you look like anyone I know or have a crush on. Coda, sorry, I can't cuddle with you. I already cuddle with the squirrels each night. 1H student, would they let me join if I dressed up like a giant acorn? Coda, maybe, but you might not survive the night. 1H student, can we sleep together? Ida, luckily, I've learned from my past mistakes and now know you're referring to the literal meaning of the phrase. 1H student, no, I was referring to sex. Ida, what? 1H student, this schoolwork just has me really stressed out. End of chapter.